Welcome back, everybody. It's Heaven's Mouthpiece here, and today I am excited to bring you a review on Frank Herbert's 1976 novel, Children of Dune. And if you don't already know, this is the third novel in the Dune trilogy. Some of you might be questioning why I called it a trilogy, and that's because Frank Herbert himself and Herbert's son also reference it as a trilogy. If you want to learn more about this and you're a nerd like me, I'm going to make a whole other video on it, so stay tuned to check that out later. Also, if you haven't checked out my earlier Dune and Dune Messiah reviews, hit those links on the screen right now and check those out before this video. Make sure you get all the information. Please don't forget to hit that like button and also subscribe for more content. Now let's get into this review. Children of Dune focuses on the time period following the mysterious disappearance of the Muad'Dib, otherwise known as Paul Atreides. Following Paul's disappearance into the desert, Aaliyah has taken the throne, and the Fremen are left to take care of his two twin children that he left behind. Paul and Aaliyah's mother, Jessica, returns in this book, and she is the main driver for the plot, as she's returning to seek out the Abomination. The Abomination is a term given to those who have been overcome by the prescience, which has been given to them by the spice dye which they consume. This is especially prevalent in between the preborns, who are both the twins, Ghanima and Leto II, as well as Aaliyah. This corruption typically comes as a result of them succumbing to the power of their past lives. And in this novel, we see Aaliyah is very much akin to her past life, the Baron Harkonnen, which is a negative influence on her life. The Bene Gesserit had long suspected that the abomination Aaliyah has taken form already, and that she is far beyond saving. This has shown itself in her disregard for the kingdom and letting things run amok in her time as a ruler. Jessica, being a messenger of the Bene Gesserit and carrying out their duties, she is mainly looking to see if she can recover Aaliyah or see if the twins are able to govern the kingdom appropriately. And she needs to find this out by testing them to make sure they're human. The examination of corruption in Dune is extremely scientific from a reader's perspective, despite the Fremen way of discovering this corruption in the book being so non-scientific. Discovering this corruption is quite easy for Jessica. Her whole plan is basically just stick around and see what happens. And despite that being so non-scientific in nature, we see Aaliyah take these structured steps which lead her towards these negative actions, ultimately culminating with her trying to assassinate her own mother, Jessica. I say Aaliyah is following a path of negativity and not evil because Dune is very much a place made up of people who are motivated for many different reasons. And the boundaries of good and evil are very hard to define in such a broad universe. Negative is really the correct word to use here, since she is only focusing on preserving power for herself. She's not trying to push anything forward, any initiatives which would maybe further the interests of the galaxy, of certain planets, for certain reasons. She's willing to sacrifice hundreds of millions of lives just so that she can remain in power and nothing else. This type of mindset is just not a progressive one, and that's why I call it negative. And in the Dune universe, anything that is progressive and moving forward in time is something that is positive. Meanwhile, in the rest of the Dune universe, I actually heard someone call it the Duneverse the other day, and I think I might start doing that. But in the rest of this Duneverse, the ecological situation's beyond repair at this point, and everyone's ignoring it, especially Aaliyah, who has no focus on anything besides herself. However, there are other people in this book, Leto II and Ghanima, the twins of Paul Atreides, who really care about what is happening to the environment and are acutely aware of what will happen in the future if things keep going down this path. Concerns of this ecological ruin and ruin of society as well is also voiced by this new character called the Preacher. Many suspect the Preacher to be Paul Muad'Dib, and many talk about it for the rest of the book. He is Paul. However, he pretends not to be for the entire thing. But Paul is very ashamed of what he brought the planet to, and he wants to reverse what happened. Paul also understands that he can't be the original person that he was. He stands for something else at this point, and someone else needs to take control of the reins and lead Arrakis/Dune into the future that will bring them prosperity. Herbert's entire commentary about this ecological balance is extremely poignant. The very essence which gave Dune life and immense wealth is the same thing that's destroying it. On the planet, with Aaliyah's very little supervision of anything that actually matters, we see that the sandworms are disappearing at a massive rate, and people are beginning to not wear still suits and just walk around since the climate is getting easier to deal with. Now, this is extremely bad since Dune 1 relies on the spice for wealth. Once that disappears, there could very well be no use for Dune at all, and besides being no use for Dune at all, there could be a collapse of the entire universe since everything relies on spice. There's a large trade going around, and if that disappears, we might see the disappearance of humanity. I really like the way that Frank Herbert intertwines corruption of the powers, religion, into this ecological balance which sustains the whole entire system itself, and how it could all come crashing in on itself when something goes wrong. It somewhat mirrors the problems we're having today with the climate crisis. Now, in the large expanse of this universe, in Dune, it gives you some serious perspective on how we should view our own climate and how we should go forward as a species. Aside from Herbert's examination of corruption, which is fantastically played out through his characters Aaliyah, as well as some of the other characters, including the twins, and how that intermingles with ecological balance, there's also a very interesting topic that he explores of the dangers of certainty. Paul, the original preacher, the Muad'Dib, he was the most certain person in the universe. He could see the future, and that was kind of his downfall at the same time. In fact, it was his downfall, and he came to kill himself in a way that he got rid of the last Muad'Dib and he became the preacher to go against everything that he stood for originally. And that's because he was too certain on that. He needed to find something that was new and original, something that would make him become human again. This reminds us that there are dangers that are associated with certainty. Even though Paul could see the future, that didn't mean everything that he did was good, or objectively something that should have been done. He even comes at the end of the day full circle to say that the world does need some uncertainty, and if there is no uncertainty, then there is nothing worth living for at that point. We also see the dangers of certainty in the way that humanity will expire if the way things are going continues. That being the ecological disaster, which is Dune becoming a more hospitable place to plants, fauna, and other things, which is ultimately killing the spice. Herbert's deep dive into the corruption of religious dogma, as well as ecological balance and the dangers of certainty, are what make this book amazing. And the fact that he opened up this Dune universe into something so much more grand in this book was extremely impressive to me. Children of Dune effortlessly unfolds the universe of Dune. It allows us to see past the original character of Paul Atreides, who dominated the first two books with his messiahdom. And now, messiahdom might not be a word, I think I looked it up, but you understand what I'm saying. He covered the entire first book. No one had any air to breathe. And I was surprised that once I read this book, I was excited to read even more about this universe. There's so many new characters who are the same characters that we had before, but now they have their own motivations, ways that they want to push and pull the universe in different directions. And I'm very excited to see where that goes. The only downfall to this book would be if you're a person who needs to follow a protagonist, because there really isn't a protagonist and an antagonist in the story, besides maybe Aaliyah. And you know, some people might say she's not even the worst person in this book. She's just put into a bad place. She has her own motivations for everything, although I would say that they were negative. Overall, there's just so many things that make this such a great story, and I am so excited to read more. It also puts a great cap on the end of this little trilogy that Frank Herbert had going, of the Dune, Dune Messiah, and then Children of Dune. Overall, Children of Dune was a great book. I think it was even better than Dune Messiah. Not quite as good as the original Dune, and for that reason, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I'm extremely excited to read the next book. I've already started God Emperor, and if you stay tuned, you'll see that review soon. I'll catch you guys later. That's all for today. Peace.